Ron Paul, it's happening.
Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Please don't let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let.
Welcome back to Crown's Crypto Cave, where we're praying away the coronavirus right now as Elsa's nice and nestled into the couch. She's recovering herself, feeling a little bit better, I do think, but still on the road to recovery. Anyways, myself, later today, I will not be on Twitch, actually, as I have to go to the doctor myself, kind of following up on my own surgery, which, for whatever reason, is still not all healed up. So hoping for some good news there, but that does mean I will not be on Twitch today. Other than that, yes, finally, OBS is actually working. Okay, I didn't even check that the scene is live in the background. You don't know how many times I have to record these videos sometimes because of just malfunctions, but so far so good. I guess I'll take the second to make sure that I'm recording and the microphone's working. Holy shit, that's a new record, first minute of the video. Anyways, I really want to follow up on yesterday's analysis, as we did see the short-term time frame analysis pull through, as Bitcoin did hit that initial 6950-ish level, got that nice little bounce back up, then down to 6750, and that's kind of where we are right now, as Bitcoin puts in a little bit of a bounce right now, and that's going to really lead into and start to formulate the bias on the medium and higher term timeframes throughout this next week of price action, which I am looking for to slowly but surely kind of move on like molasses. So while Bitcoin is still kind of in limbo, and while Bitcoin, I do believe this is going to start to move probably towards the end of this week, probably still going to be a little bit of a short medium term on the next few days, probably more or less slow. Now that's the famous last words, because anytime that I try to time sort such things, it doesn't really go too well for myself. And I just realized I have to check one thing back on over here before we get into the actual analysis. 1 second, uno momento. That could have been devastating if you see a camera just absolutely tip on over. That's because it's being tethered by a 5-pound weight called a battery right now. Anyways, other than that, let's talk about actual price analysis here. As we do see the open interest once again approaching that $700 million mark, which is where I start to get interested in for resolution of the medium time frame range we've been looking at. That medium time frame range still to the upside about 7,300, to the downside about 6,700. Of course, we're kind of like right in the middle of that right now, a little bit more edged down to the downside, and that's going to start to tie into the analysis a little bit more. I've been getting a lot. I read the comments on my video yesterday, and it was very interesting to see. I have to remind myself that to be very, 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 very careful and also direct with delineating the difference between low timeframes, medium timeframes, and high and macro timeframes. For whatever reason, I feel like I've been misheard quite a bit on being bearish on the higher term timeframes, which I think people hear that sometimes on the lower term timeframes and realize that when we're talking about higher term timeframes, we're talking about like months of price action. When we're talking about low term timeframes, we're talking about maybe like a day or two, something like that, maybe even less than a day. So it's a vast difference. I can be bearish on the high term timeframes, but bullish on the low term timeframes, and understanding the difference between, understanding the difference between those two things, but not operating these absolutes is really gonna be a big focus. I mean, this is what this channel is about. You can't be a fucking trader and operate in absolutes of like black or white. It's a lot of gray zone. We're talking about statistics. We're talking about probabilities. We're talking about essentially setups which give you a statistical edge. That's all trading is. As an analyst, people can say all crazy sorts of things, but they're not financially accountable to those trades because they're not making those trades. They're just saying all sorts of crazy stuff to get their name out there. But I come from the and if you're new here, understand that I come from the background of a trader. I used to be a professional market maker, authorized trader on the floor of ARCA, and now I've come to the very illustrious area of cryptocurrency land, which is pretty fucking fun to be honest with you, but I'm always going to be coming at this from that perspective. So if you are looking for an analyst to tell you that that Bitcoin price action is going to fucking 200 billion today, or going down to zero, or literally even less than zero in the case of oil today as well, that's not what we're going to be doing here. It's more well it's more stock. It's less of that, more of trading. Anyways, before I talk myself into circles, let's go check out price analysis. Before we get into that, all the top end metrics right here, again, more or less steady. Fear and greed index still kind of hovering in the upper teens. I'm not sure how much I trust this though. That is the one thing that makes me think that this does flip around bullish, but everything else to me, not so much. And in open interest, approaching that 700 million mark as we do approach the medium and perhaps even the higher term time frame ranges as it stands right now. So let's go into the actual price charts right here. And starting off with the 12-hour, or maybe we can just go to a daily, start this baby off. I do want to say that as long as Bitcoin is below the 21 exponential moving average, I do play this to the downside. However, because we are still kind of caught within this molasses-like price action, I don't really think that too much is actionable like right here, right now. And we did see the 4-hour time frame hit where we were looking for yesterday, down to that 6750-ish region, which is also going to be correlated with our uptrend support coming in back from our March 13th low. I think if we do this maybe on Mexico, it might not be exactly there. Actually, it's pretty much right around there. A little bit lower than that, around 6,700, almost even. I think this is a little bit easier seen on Finex, which yes, we did hit the bottom. By the way, this chart was made on a daily, so that's why you're not necessarily seeing it, work on a 4-hour. And there you go. And still kind of operating within the confines of this as a rising channel, which is a pattern of redistribution, typically speaking, as verified by the tailing off volume signature right here, which is rather mature right now and does suggest a resolution point, does suggest an apex in mid to early May, which probably gets a resolution around later this week. Realistically speaking, is when they become extremely likely to break, and that's also going to be further enhanced by the historical volatility percentile read, which is very much mature, especially on the 12-hour, which is going to precede a movement like this. It's going to be more of a leading indicator in that sense, as we are pretty damn contracted here. Now we can certainly go a little bit more. I mean, right, as of right now, it is in the single digits, but I would expect this to kind of tail this out a little bit more. As you can see, we are coming in at an apex on the same areas of volume as well, on the volume signature as well, I should say, would suggest a resolution point pretty much around the same time, sometime a little bit later this week perhaps, and small incremental movements in between. So while I do think that Bitcoin is setting up here for a nice big move, I think that these next few days are probably just going to be ranging on the short-term time frame ranges, which, as we looked at yesterday, is just these guys right here between 6,700 and very, 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 very short term. We're kind of already there at around 6,950-ish region. Looks like Bitcoin already tested it. But realistically, I'd say, just to kind of extrapolate that a little bit more, because I do think that this would be a little bit too intense right here, we could extend that all the way up to about 7,100-ish region back into this blue box territory right here. So it's still a game of blue boxes, even for the lower term time frames. I don't really see any major move to be had right now, this exact second. Of course, my opinion on that is pretty much irrelevant, because timing is not my thing, and I don't really think that it can be done. The only thing that's close to it is historical volatility percentile, and that just gives you statistics, alongside when you're looking at, price action that's an outlier essentially. Anyways, movements, that's an outlier. Anyways, that's another conversation for another time. Jesus fucking Christ, man. So with regards to this, I do want to, once again, remind myself, and perhaps remind you out there as well. This might be annoying at this point, but this is a pattern. This is a rising channel, which is a pattern of redistribution, which is, as we just looked at, further verified by the volume signature, further verified by the historical volatility percentile, and also once we get this fucking chart for the open interest, which should be coming relatively soon. Our developer is out of quarantine now. He's feeling a lot better, and that's really good to hear. And probably in the next update, probably less than a week now, we should have that up. We'll be able to see how open interest interacted throughout this whole move down from about 10,500, which I can tell you from memory went from about 1.5 billion with a B down over the way over here to March 13th to about 500 million with an M. And then we've been kind of just oscillating between 550 million and 700 million between our current low of about 4,500 and 7,300 high right here. And I do believe that further verifies that this is that what we're looking at right now is likely redistribution, because you're seeing contraction on volatility. You're seeing volume obviously get curtailed down as well, which does suggest that this is all one piece of the whole. And if this is all one piece of the whole, then you'd expect that open interest read to absolutely shoot up if we are going to if we are going to resolve this formation, which at this point, resolution to myself would be anywhere below about 6,700, preferably on a higher term time frame like a 12-hour or a daily. However, a 4-hour probably does do it, to be fair. And to the upside, a little bit more diabolical, I do still think it could be that Bitcoin does, pop back up around here, but I'd just be going level by level for that, analysis. And as long as Bitcoin is below the 200x, fucking goddamn it, these assholes out here are doing construction way too early. Hey, fuck off. Jesus Christ, man. Anyways, it's all good. Sorry, this probably me getting annoyed by it is more annoying than anything else. My apologies. I do have a raspy lesbian voice, so Well, it's your ears, not mine. Anyways, looking at this right here, I suppose, realistically from the 4-hour perspective, as long as we are below the 200 exponential moving average, yes, it is more immediately bearish. I just don't think that Bitcoin has the momentum to absolutely, break down right here. I think that it's kind of setting up for a little bit later this week, most likely. And if Bitcoin does break back above 69.50, I would look for another short-term move back up to the 71.50-ish region right here. Another $200 move, very, 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 very short-term type stuff. And realistically, momentum oscillators are probably going to be signaling towards that as well. Not only do we see historical volatility percentile getting very, very hot here, which is going to with a mean reverting indicator, it's going to contract from that price point. We are going to see 4-hour Stokes come down and hit this trend line, so very likely bouncing right around here, also the edge of the critical zone, which I do like. And if we do look at 4-hour RSI, going to probably pop back up and test around the exponential as well, kind of hitting a similar trend line if you go all the way back from over here, it looks like something like that. So a little bit of short-term support here as the market kind of takes its time. I think that we're just going to be moving slowly. And then, of course, looking at the lower time frames, and then I just want to see if there's, agreement within this market. 3-hour Stokes kind of snaking around, although technically down right now, but snaking around, coming from the same area. 2-hour Stokes, same area and up. Hourly Stokes going to be up, coming from the bearish control zone. So I do like that for a short-term pop back up to the upside. How high does it get? I don't have any strong opinions on that. Like I said, I just see that, I'll just be looking at this area right here. It's kind of like a gatekeeper for the next move up, a couple $100 higher, and then same thing for right there, 71.50, or if you want to call it like 71.30. I think either is fine. I'd look for another extension for another $200 move to 73.50-ish region right here. And realistically, that's only applicable to the short-term timeframes. For medium timeframe buys and high timeframe buys, I am still overall bearishly biased as long as Bitcoin is below 7,300. Now, does that mean that Bitcoin can't move above 7,300? No, of course not. It's a game of fucking statistics. We'll be looking at them later with the expected moves chart suggesting if for today, and I'm expecting that we'll see actually some rather interesting there. But as long as Bitcoin is below 7,300, more importantly 7,350, I don't really see any like major threat of a big move to the upside, meaning a move up here towards the upper 7,000, like 7,900 to $8,000 region. However, if Bitcoin did retake 73 to 7,350, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if it did, I would be looking for that move up here in line with our next major order block coming in from the March 10th breakdown, and also our accumulation zone, our breakout from this accumulation zone in this liquid zone from late 2019 as well, before that $4,000 rally. So my point is that as long as those conditions are not met, I don't really have any reason to be medium or long-term bullish here. I know that a lot of people are expecting Bitcoin to just fucking green deal its way through the sky to the moon or beyond, or even past it, because halving. And why on top of halving? Because halving again. And why would Bitcoin go any higher than the moon? Because halving. And why is Bitcoin going to fucking double or triple from here? Because halving, which seems to just be like the goddamn echo chamber that I keep on seeing on all the social media venues, which fair enough, the halving is a very cool thing now, isn't it? And it's also interesting because we seem to all know about it. Wow, that's also interesting. And we've all known about it for a long time now too. That's also interesting. Halving. We're going to fucking moon, baby. Halving. It's like, Jesus Christ, man. More tangible things, in my opinion. Doesn't mean that Bitcoin can't have its massive green dildo party. It's just I need to see things change around first and foremost before that happens. Also, I do believe that something that I do feel quite strongly about is I don't think that we're going to see Bitcoin close this month above 7,300, regardless of whether this is bullish or bearish. I don't think that we close the month above 7,300. Now, let's take this another step further. So I do think that Bitcoin's going to bounce up a little bit more here, maybe like $7,000, maybe even 7,100, something like that. But as long as we're held below 7,300, I do look at that as just, likely another lower high. And what do you know? What happened yesterday? We just confirmed a lower high, and we are in danger of maybe even putting in a lower low. Any daily doodle close below about 6,600, 6,650 right here, and we will officially have a daily downtrend once again, as momentum oscillators from this time frame actually are up right now. So fair enough. I'm curious what the reverse Stochastic Integrator cross would say. Let's think about this right now though. If the reverse Stochastic indicator cross is below 6,700, for example, and actually constitutes a resolution of that rising channel break to the downside, we would expect that momentum oscillators would turn back down around with it. Let's just see. Let's just see if these things operate with each other. And what do you know? Actually, funnily enough, it's actually much higher than that. 69 or 68.80 if you want to get super exact with it. So we're about $7 above it right now, and we will be closing this later. No, wait, what? Oh, sorry. Yeah, we obviously we're gonna be closing this one at 8 p.m. Eastern time tonight. So yeah, anywhere below 60, basically 6,900 today, and we will see that cross back down. So that would be further enhanced by creating a downtrend on the daily as well. Momentum offset is also going in that direction. So still a big area right there. I don't think that there's going to be any like major threat of like a huge move immediately until that condition is met. And personally speaking, I think that probably takes another few days or something like that, if it is even going to happen. Again, my opinion is irrelevant. I only trade technical analysis, and at the end of the day, I think my areas are pretty damn clear. So on top of that, what else do we have to look at? Daily RSI has lost the exponential. Also, did we put in? No, we didn't put any hidden bearish divergence there. Other than that, daily RSI just looks like a bearish reset to me, popping back up to the neutral zone and getting a little bit weaker there. Not a death sentence in and of itself. Again, levels still more important to myself. Let's go check out what the 12-hour session right now. And cancel everything else. We have 12-hour SOX once again showing the downside, hitting the same trend line that we spoke about yesterday. Oh, well, almost. Close enough is close enough. It's more of a regression than anything. Getting our highs all the way back from February, by the way. That was this major high right here at about 10,500, if I remind myself, perhaps you as well. Also this high right here at about March 6th at 9,200. Also this high more recently right here, April 8th at about 7,400 before this $1,000 move to the downside. And then once again, we pretty much hit that trend line as 12-hour Stokes turn back down. And well, my thoughts on the 12-hour Stokes. Coming in line also with the historical volatility percentile read, also coming in line with the 12-hour RSI read. All these things do seem to be a little bit more angled to the downside. Again, I need to see major levels broken, but as it stands right now, I do think that I do think that we're going to test this area again. And what I'm really having my eyes on now is the 2-day dildo time frame. So the 2-day dildo time frame is very important to me right here because of many things. First and foremost, we have the death cross going on right on over here. That was late March. So we're about we played it out for about a month now. And we can look back at, historically speaking, and that's more or less in line with it. But more importantly, as long as we are below the 21 exponential moving average, which to be fair, right now, we are not. Well, I mean, price action is below the 21, right? But it's not on a closing basis. The last close was actually an open and close above. So until we actually start closing 2-day dildos below the 21, I don't look at this as immediately actionable. And even then, it's likely to operate as, molasses. And I'd still be using that as a nice little pivot point only for the 2-day dildo time frame for both the upside and the downside. If we do close this next 2-day above it, which I don't think is. Well, actually, it could very easily happen here. Above 7,000, I do still think that there's going to be a threat of that move to the upper 7,000s, like 7,900 or 8,000, whatever it ends up being. By the same token, if we do lose it officially today, I do think that probably going to retest that area over the next couple of days, but it's going to be more immediate pressure down. So let's go back through the past couple of case studies that we can look at to get an idea of this and then mark our own sort of behaviors off of it. Anyways, last example was in 2018 during this redistribution formation as well. Sounds familiar, right? A nice descending triangle on the lows. And what happens? Bitcoin crosses it. We see a divergence between these two moving averages, telling us that the cross is strengthening. Bitcoin does test the 55 here, which it does in actually the prior example as well. And then once it loses the 21 back on over here, it's immediate pressure down. Now, from cross to actual dooms drop is about a month and a half, from early September to early November. So actually maybe more like 2 months. And then, of course, as we all know, about 50.5% drop down from top to bottom on that move right there. Then the example before that was back on over here in 2014, 2015. Price action very far away from the cross. Comes up, tests not only the 55, but the 200. And then once it loses the 21, the yellow moving average back down around there. Big, massive move to the downside, another 53% to the downside. And from cross to dooms drop was about a month and a half here, from 20th of October to early December, essentially. So a little bit less than 1.5 months. But of course, another one right here where we get about, like I said, 54% to the downside. So as it is right now, Bitcoin's been a little bit less than a month after getting the death cross right here on the 2-day. And these moving averages are starting to get more and more divergence away from each other. And naturally they will, especially the longer that, Bitcoin price action is below them. And even more aggressively as long as it's below the yellow 21 right here as well. So I'm looking at this as, like a slow molasses move to kind of tip on over. As long as Bitcoin's below the 21, that is my main disposition on price action. I am overall bearish. I think that it's very funny and very silly from what I see across some of the great social media venues, the highly esteemed social media venues that talk about how the traditional markets, which I did say last week was likely to have a down week this week, and I do feel quite confident about that right now. That they look at this and they say, this is obviously bearish. You see a vertical rally coming off the lows and volume isn't even there. Well, I actually do agree with that. Fuck! Wait a second, is that Bitcoin? That's actually bullish. Sorry guys, that's actually bullish. My bad. You get my fucking point. It's just the delusion in this market is so. That's what really makes me reconsider being a part of cryptocurrency land and not just going back to traditional, because I mean, it's going to be everywhere, of course, but for whatever reason, people like want to hate one and then love the other because Wall Street is mean or whatever the fuck that means. I don't even want to get into this right now. It's just silly. But it's just, there's the best people in cryptocurrency land, and then there's the most immature, very uninspiring people in cryptocurrency land as well. And I'm one of them. So there you go. Anyways, while we are here on the 2-day, I should also say that if we do close below the 21, this is also going to confirm a 2-day Dollar Stoke cross to the downside at the same time. 2-day RSI is more or less bearish as well to me. It's not really saying anything like too particular though, to be fair. I'm curious if there's any jewel signals on the lower term timeframes that could supersede my analysis. No, in fact, 4 hour is pressure on right now. Same as 3 hour, same as 2 hour kind of as well, hourly as well, but we're losing momentum here a little bit on the short term time frame. So I do think that Bitcoin's going to play out a little bit of an upwards bounce, a little bit of sideways here. As we spoke about on the lower term time frame ranges, I'd just be going from blue box to blue box. Again, it's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, and I can always be significantly wrong. So, I hate it when people act as if they're surprised when I'm wrong. It's like I'm gonna be wrong. This game is statistics. I can't always be right. And it doesn't. You don't need to always be right in order to make money. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Let's go look at CME futures for a second, see how they're operating right now. Looking a little bit bouncy-ish to me as well in the very, very short term. As far as the higher term timeframes go, pressure down as well. Daily had a pretty abysmal close yesterday. As long as it's below the 21, I do play to the downside, although I think that it's going to take a little bit of time itself. Daily Stokes didn't even cross up like spotted, just coming down the whole way. And 4 hour golden cross never even happened. So that's kind of a competing narrative as well, and I do believe that CMEs just hold more weight in general here. Looking at 4 historical volatility percentile as well, we are pretty damn low, and seeing kind of the final drives of this formation right here, I do believe. Which again has like the same sort of resolution date, middle of May, which is actually around the halving, by the way. So it is interesting how those things align, but I do think that we're going to be moving along that side. Anyways, looking at this, okay, what was I doing there? Okay, yeah, looking at this from a Fibonacci perspective, we could say that we actually did hit. Yeah, we are being held back by the 0.5 Fibonacci retracement right here. On a bearish retracement, I should say, although it's going to be the same area on a bullish. It's fucking 50%, obviously. It is interesting to me, though, that the 618 is around the 200 exponential average. I do still want to leave the door open for a move up there. It's just I need to see 7,300 taken out first on preferably a higher term time frame to make me a little bit more interested in that. What else do we want to talk about? It's already 23 minutes into this video. Jesus Christ, man. Let's go check out Mr. Buterin really quick. Or actually, before we do that, no, let's go look at probabilities. Let's go look at probabilities here. So again, going down to this time frame right here, we can actually get the low and medium and even higher by that extension. Oh, by the way, I forgot to even talk about this. If and when Bitcoin does break 6,700 to the downside, we do have a nice measure move to be made. I think I've already done it over here on my Finex chart, pointing down to actually a nice horizontal level right here, coming in from 14th of March, it looks like, at around 54 to 5,500. That's around where the 200 simple moving average is on the weekly as well, which, would provide some nice symmetry within this market. If it came back down around this region. Also, plenty of nasty movement average crosses on the weekly as well. Anyways, we won't get into that right now. All right, let's go back on over here. Let's go take a look at those ranges. Again, very, 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 very short term. I don't even think that this is worth talking about. But if Bitcoin does retake 69.50, I would look for extension another couple of $100 higher up here. And same thing if it retakes, this level at 71.30, 71.50 as well, up to 73, 73.50ish region. However, the big areas of note and of interest here are for the medium and higher term timeframes, the resolution areas, as I like to call them, and that's below 6,700 and above 73. If you want to be more conservative, 73.50. So let's go see the probabilities on these, as we've seen it slowly but surely kind of ebb in the favor of the downside over time. And holy shit, man, I don't know what we were looking at yesterday, but as you can see, I had 73.50 to the upside yesterday. That was like a that was deep inside the double digits in, I think, the upper teens or even in the 20s yesterday. Now only 5.5%. And look at the way that the rings are operating right now. They are squeezing down very, 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 very aggressively. However, it's actually not really fair to do. We should be looking at future bars to get a better gauge of this. And they're actually kind of more neutral than anything right there, to be fair. But current is squeezing down rather aggressively after putting in a lower high, which to me is overall bearish. However, below target probability, I don't think that 67.50 is appropriate. We already hit that area. Sorry, whoops. Let's be a little bit more conservative, at least, especially if we're going to do it for the upside. I would like to do it for the downside as well. At 6,700 does show a probability of 27.5% today, at today's closure. So, while I do think that Bitcoin probably tests it, do I think that Bitcoin closes below it? It's relatively possible. 27.5% is definitely within the realm of reason. The upside looking rather unlikely, so I'll leave it like that. If we want to go down to the low term time frames, we definitely can. I'll do this on a 4-hour, however. I don't know if it's optimized for this time frame. I need to speak to Bali about this, but 69.50 to the upside, and we could still use 6,700 to the downside, even on a 4-hour. Let's see what it shows. Upside target probability 17.77, but again, that's short term. And then I would target a move back up to like 71 or 71.50, whatever it ends up being. The upside is not interesting to me here until Bitcoin gets back above 73. Anyways, downside very unlikely in this next 4-hour little closure, 2.5%. So yeah, I do think that Bitcoin's going to be trading a little bit sideways, maybe filling out the top side of the range once again. Probably another test up to like 7,000 or maybe even 7,100. But I think the damage is being done here as far as the more medium and long-term time frame ranges go. Also worth looking at the 3-day. The 3-day is a clear rejection of the 200 simple moving average, also the 21 exponential moving average right here, which will cross inevitably as long as we are below 7,100. So I do think that we're probably going to test back up there on this next 3-day dildo, which is fresh right here. But assuming that gets rejected, well, that looks really fucking bad. But again, not going to set up today, not going to set up tomorrow. This is maybe like a week or two away or something like that. Looking at 3-day RSI, it is strange. I'm not sure what to make of that, actually. I need to say a healthy amount of I don't know. Anyways, what else do we want to look at? Let's go look at the monthly just for perspective giving once again. Why not? Monthly Stokes, nosediving. They ain't crossing up until Bitcoin gets back above 84.50-ish region. Monthly RSI, very bizarre looking as well. Looks more bearish than anything to me, but I don't know there either. What I do feel strongly about is the 21 on the monthly right here. As long as we are below it, I'm not bullish on anything long-term that's below the 21 on the monthly, and you do see a pretty damn similar signature to what you saw back and over here in 2014, 2015. I don't want to make this into like a fractal discussion. Fucking fractal squirrels gonna start barking up, but it's fucking stupid. But you get my point. But regardless of whether I'm bullish or bearish for this month, I don't think that we're going to close above the 21, which is at 7,300. The closer that we close to 7,300, though, or the closer that we close to the 21, more accurately said, by the end of this month, in the next, I guess, 9 days or 10 days or whatever it is, the more and more likely I do think that we could have another move to the upside. But again, monthly trend is fucking down, man. It's fucking down. We have high, low, lower high, low, lower high. I mean, this is already lower. So, could it bottom out here? I mean, this does look like capitulation, to be fair, on this wick. But for right now, still technically speaking, the trend is to the downside. Like we said, nosediving, not the picture perfect. RSI is a little bit more, again, another healthy serving of I'm not so confident on that one. If I had to say something, it would be more on the bear side, but I don't feel all that strongly about it. And I think with traditional markets also as well, putting in a top on Friday, I do think that we're going to be coming down on traditional markets, SPY down to 276 and 3/4. Probably short term, probably another small bounce there, but overall, I do think that this is going to come back down into the mid 260s. Let's go check out futures really, really quick. Now's futures are kind of already down around that level. I think that they come down a little bit more before this is all said and done, maybe even all the way back down to like 83.30. Don't feel too confident on that one. I feel a little more confident on E-mini futures and SPY because I'm more familiar with them, and same thing there, realistically speaking. So, I did say last week, and I don't mean to come off as arrogant when I say these sorts of things, but just to follow up, I do believe that we're going to be seeing a short-term and medium-term top, regardless of whether you're bullish or bearish. I mean, it's just a lovely area right here, right? You have the 618 Fibonacci pretty much front ran a little bit here, and nice measure move on this redistribution formation. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? On this rising wedge down to the 382. I like the symmetry in this market. Also nice horizontal coming in from a historical level. Well, not so historical, but important level nonetheless from the last breakout. So I do think a little bit of down here is warranted. We also do see Japan down another 2%, and they are closed for the day, so they're going to close down on the 21. I think that we're going to see U.S. markets follow down around there as well. Gold is looking short-term bullish to me, probably run back up to 1720-ish region. Long-term, I still think okay, but I want to see the monthly close. If the monthly close is anywhere above 1650 or 1660, I think it will still reach for those higher time frame targets towards like 1800-ish region over the next few months, whatever it ends up being. But short-term, a little bit bullish there. I need to see the monthly close though to get the long-term. Let's go check out Buterol and Litecoin and then send you off. Mr. Buterol on a monthly. Oh, what's this? Just popping up to test the 10 simple and the 21. And is that oh, fuck me. God damn it, Vitalik. Supposed to pump this shit. That looks healthy. That looks really healthy. The weekly actually does look good, though. To be fair, you know what? I'm giving this one way too much shit here. The weekly actually does look okay for another try higher. Strange, though, man. I don't see the same thing on Bitcoin, but we did hit our medium time frame target or basically did at 190. I think we got up to 189.8. Yeah, it's close enough. This area right here. As long as we're below 190, I am overall bearish on this one, but does it pop back up a test around there? It looks like it wants to, yes. Maybe. Whatever Bitcoin does, this one's going to probably mirror. Mrs. Litecoin looks like a sick fucking puppy. Damn close to confirming another downtrend on the daily as well. High, low, perhaps putting a low right here. As soon as it closes below 39.25, it will, and I'd be looking for extension all the way down to the mid 30s. Weekly looks atrocious here as well. Clear rejection of the 10 simple. Wasn't even strong enough to test it. Death cross on the weekly moving averages coming for the first time in history on this one. And I don't think I've even seen a cryptocurrency that has a death cross on the fucking weekly. I mean, it's just intense. So yeah, I would be looking for it to come back down to about like 35.5 region, a little bit more medium and long term. Other than that, probably already talked your ear off right now. So let's go back to Bitcoin, wrap this bitch up, and send you off. All right, so Bitcoin on lower term timeframes. Saw the move that we were looking for yesterday play out. Realistically, I don't think that it has momentum to break below this critical level right here just yet, below 6,700. But if it were to, then technically speaking, yes, I do think that we'd kind of initiate that move all the way down to the mid 5,000s essentially. Likely going to be very, very likely there's going to be bounce along the way, short-term bounces. One area of interest will be 6450-ish region. Another area of interest will be right here at about more so right here. Yeah, 6,100. Another area of interest right here, right around about 5850. And then, yeah, I would look for the full-on measure move to be hit down around like 5,500, which is going to be the weekly 200 simple as well. Can Bitcoin go lower than that over time? I mean, technically speaking, whenever we've gotten the 2-day dollar death cross, we have seen a 50% move to the downside. So that would put us down around like 3,500 again. I think that's a little bit too aggressive for me to say at this point. I'd like to see price action fall through first and then see if it formulates anything else. But it is potentially there. So at the end of the day, I think that's going to do it. Or sorry, that does it for that would get the medium and long-term downside if that did happen. I don't think that happens today. I actually think that Bitcoin probably tests a little bit to the upside, maybe 69.50. If it does retake that, I would look for extension all the way up to like 7100-ish region and test around here. In fact, this blue box is a little bit too aggressive. I'd actually flip it down now to 75 to 7100-ish region if Bitcoin did want to test back up around there. If it does regain it on even a 4-hour total closure, I would look for extension all the way back up to 7,300 again, and then perhaps yes, that's when pressure is back onto the upside, and we might see this move over here. But I'm not really looking for that to happen. From a probability standpoint, downside is more likely. I think that Bitcoin just spends its time kind of wedging itself into this area right here, and then sets up for a move maybe later this week, early next week, something like that. So yeah, that's going to do it for right now. I am going to go eat a shit ton of food and go to the doctor. Hopefully I get some good news. Hopefully Elsa starts feeling better soon, and then we'll be doing Twitch streams once again. Other than that, I want to wish you well. I want to wish you the best of the best and the happiest of the happiest. I want to apologize for the very annoying sounds outside. I don't know if you can hear that or not. And also for my very annoying voice and for all my stupid tirades that I put you through. I apologize. It's just my simple but idiotic way of expressing myself. Anyways, that's enough for right now. Take care, and until next time.